Welcome to this demonstration of the An Even Better Place to Work website. Now, what is Better Place to Work all about? It's about helping people to find fulfillment in the workplace. It's about improving the quality of work life for people. Because as we know, if you get that bit right, people, if they do feel valued, if they do feel special, people are more likely to be productive. So that's what Better Place to Work is about. Now, people come to work to have their needs met. If the needs are not being met, what happens? They become disillusioned, unhappy, disengaged, and we have all those costly people problems. So is the secret of people finding fulfillment at work, is that related to their needs being met? It would appear so. So the more my needs are being met, the happier I'm going to be, the more productive I am likely to be. So in essence and unashamedly, that's what Better Place to Work is all about. It's focused on the person. It's people-centric. It's getting it right for the individual, because that's how you get it right for the business. So the mantra is meet the business needs without neglecting the needs of people. And it's the car. We're giving you a system. Follow these things and you will be an exceptional leader. We're going to give you the car rather than the theory of the internal combustion engine. So let's start our little journey. I'm going to take you onto the website. So here we are on the An Even Better Place to Work website. So over on the left-hand side here, we've got a whole series of menu buttons. So the top one, Help and Tutorials. If you click the question mark, this actually brings up all the tutorials which are linked with the system. So this system is self-managed, meaning people themselves can take ownership for familiarizing themselves with the system. Because here we have tutorials, 10, 15, 20 seconds, which explain the various parts of Better Place to Work. And after you've watched this demonstration, you might want to go in here and play quick tour. So that gives an overview of everything that's on the system. Menu on the left-hand side. So then we have the dashboard. And I will talk that through with you later. That's looking at it from the perspective of the senior team at a corporate level. So Better Place to Work, what we're going to do is we're going to look initially at Better Place to Work from a team leader and a team member's point of view. So what does it involve in terms of them engaging and benefit from them? And then later on, we will look at it through the senior team eyes, that more corporate perspective. All the various reports, you got action prompts. So the action prompts, they actually tell us what we need to be doing if Better Place to Work is to be highly successful. They provide a clear pathway to outstanding leadership. So here's the various actions. Action 1, meet with the sponsor. Action 2, roll out the program. Action 3, and click in any one of those and it brings up more information. And down here, if you need to send an email out explaining what the program is about, well, there is an email there with that, so you can customize. So over here on the left-hand side, the diagnostic, activities, goals. Now, that really is the core of Better Place to Work as a system. The diagnostic, where are we? Are our needs being met? The activities, in other words, these are the things I can do to improve things, the medicine, shall we say, and then the goals, what we're going to commit ourselves to. Now, that is the core of Better Place to Work. The diagnostic, are our needs being met? Taking the medicine, what we're going to do about it. And that's one of the unique features of An Even Better Place to Work. It provides you with the solution. Most surveys go back to management for them to find solutions. Ours doesn't. It goes back to individuals and team leaders for them to find solutions at that local level and set some goals. You're going to find there's loads of resources in here. It will be well worth your while just dipping in here leisurely, understanding Better Place to Work, quick tips. Open up any one of these key skills as articles, posters, videos on relationships, leadership tips, which the system sends out every month. So if we just open any one of those, So you can see leadership tip, value your people, help your people feel special if you want them to act special. And it just takes 30 seconds to a minute to read, that's all. But everybody in the organization, every team leader gets one of those a month. So this actually ensures that we have a common model of leadership across the organization. Indicator videos. So there's the videos on the 7 indicators of an even better place to work. Very simple, lots of metaphors, little bit of magic, but really helping the end user, people, to understand why those 7 indicators are so important. Back over here to tools down at the bottom. So the tools allow us to add people to teams, take members away if they've leave. So people are in control and this team leader can make those changes to the team. So that's there on the left-hand side. Now we're in here as the program owner. That's the person driving it across the organization. Hence, we have more buttons here than what a team member would have. A team member would have very few menu buttons. So life is much more simpler. But because the program owner is driving it across the whole organization, that person is able to see the data right across the business. So let's make a start. Imagine you've got an organization with, say, 100 people, and they want to do an even better place to work. We will send you an Excel spreadsheet, which you can complete with the organization, send it back to us, we input it into the system, and we're ready to roll. Now, all a team member has to do is log in with their own email address and the password we give them. And then the system will ask them to change their password. And once they've done that, to complete the diagnostic, the needs diagnostic. Now that would happen automatically. We have to do it manually here because we're in here into a demonstration site. But from an end user's point of view, you cannot go wrong. So I've got to come over here to diagnostic, new diagnostic. So we see here are the questions. So let's sample some of the questions. My suggestions and opinions are welcomed in my team. Yeah, most of the time. I get the appreciation I need from the team sometimes, and so on I go. 28 questions, takes 5 minutes to complete. It literally takes just 5 to 7 minutes to complete. Let's have a look at the questions, because all of these questions are asking whether your needs have been met in your team. Why is in your team so important? Because if there is an issue, it lies within this group of people. Therefore, the solution lies within this group of people. That means people can't finger point management or HR. What we are doing is we are resourcing people so they take ownership themselves for improving the quality of their work lives. The second question there, I get the appreciation I need from my team. The question is not, I feel appreciated by my team, because then there's an assumption in that everybody wants to be appreciated. Some people don't. Some people feel patronized when they are appreciated. So these questions are assumption free. And if you look at most surveys out there, yeah, they are full of assumptions, even down to leadership is inspiring. Well, for some people, it's not. But there's an assumption there that everybody would be inspired by inspirational leadership. So anyway, complete the diagnostic, takes 5 minutes, press save, and they get the results immediately. So again, I have to do this manually. So if I come over to the dashboard, and we see here now a little radar chart. And the solid line is, if I'm in as an individual, it's my personal score, and nobody sees their results. Nobody sees their results. And we typically get 90% plus completion rates, no matter how big the organization is. Why? Because the system every week sends out an update, how many people have and haven't completed. And that even goes to team leaders so they can prompt people in their team. So if I'm a team leader, what I see in front of me, that's the average score for my team. If I'm the MD, I see that for the whole of the organization, be it 100 people or 1,000 people. So let's have a look at the 7 indicators: feedback, feeling valued, motivation. And where do these come from? Talking to people like yourselves. Better Place to Work did not grow from some academic model or theory, but from listening to the needs of managers. And this is what they told us. We want our people feeling valued. We want them motivated. We want them managing their differences. We want them taking ownership. We want minimal dysfunctional conflict. We do want people being open with each other, and we do want people engaging in feedback. Now, if you notice, there's 4 questions for each one of those indicators. So there's 4 questions here on feedback. And there are 4 activities for feedback. In other words, if feedback scores low in your team, here are 4 team activities you can do to improve those feedback scores. So again, this is self-managed. People are taking ownership themselves for improving the quality of their work lives. We're providing a system, but people themselves are finding solutions at those local levels. Over here, we've got the chart view selector, and you can see the average AVG. The average is ticked. So therefore, if I untick it, see what happens to the radar chart. Minimum, this is the minimum score. So it's not the score of one person, but it's the low score given to the 28 questions. And it is useful because we might be scoring in the bright green, which is where the needs are being met, and that's the ideal, that's what we want, not down in the red. But we could be scoring in the green for feedback, but there could be one person scoring 0, which means they have an issue, but the average score for the team looks pretty healthy. So it gives us a bit of realism. And these charts are confidential. Nobody can see your personal chart, nobody. So over here, back to the chart view selector, if I think rank order, watch what happens. The 7 indicators on the left-hand side, feeling valued, motivation, feedback. These are now ranked in terms of highest score down to lowest score. So the first column here is the current scores for the 7 indicators. And the second column is the previous, and the third column tells us the change. If it gets better, it goes green. If it gets worse, it goes red or yellow. So this is very useful to predict trends and where we need to be making interventions. If you scroll down, you get that same data for the 28 questions, all the way down to the last few questions there. So this allows us to look at the data and to see where we are going. So if I'm a team member, all I have to do is log in, change my password, complete the diagnostic, and that's all I have to do. If I'm a team leader, I log in, change my password, complete the diagnostic, and then I bring the team together to run either remotely or face-to-face a team review activity. And the notes are over here under activities. So you can see very simple, straightforward notes. And that allows the team to review the scores for that specific team. What are the lowest scores? What are the highest scores? What are we going to do as a team? So it's an opportunity for the team to set some team goals and even some personal goals, which of course can be recorded onto the system. We also suggest that team leaders have a one-to-one with each team member about their chart. In other words, about their needs. This isn't about the business needs, except indirectly. I'm talking about you, your needs. Even here, we have one-to-one conversations. So we're making it easy. We are resourcing people because these questions are all about needs. What do you need even more from me? What do you think I need from you? Some very simple, straightforward questions. And there's even more great questions and coaching questions down here. So if the team leader does have that one-to-one, that is likely to be a transformation moment. Oh my goodness, my boss, my team leader is coming to talk to me about my needs, my agenda. What is likely to be the consequence of that? That I will reciprocate. Of course, I'll go the extra mile. So this is likely to grow more openness, trust, and collaboration. It becomes a transformation moment. And that's level 1. So what's level 2? It's everything we've been looking at here in level 1. for 12 months. And what it is people can take the diagnostic as often as they like. We do suggest every 3 or 4 months. And then they take part in the activities, the solutions. So if we come over here to the menu on the left-hand side, come down to activities, diagnostic activities. If we look here, we've got the 7 indicator: openness, feedback, feeling, value, motivation, difference, and so on. So if I click on openness, you can see there's the 4 activities. Surprise, surprise, who do you think you are? Stones, talk to or about. If I click on any one of those, it brings up the notes in that familiar format, nice and simple. And those activities are what we call speed training. Why? Because they only take 20 minutes. And people thoroughly enjoy these because it's all about their needs. So it's low-level feedback. It's totally safe. And these are facilitated by team members. Underneath here, listening actively, acceptingly, that's an article, which is about openness. Openness posters, tips and thoughts, even some goal suggestions. So in your own time, suggest you have a play, open up these, but you see that it's pretty well resourced. There's a lot of depth to an even better place to work if people want to go to that depth. So down at the bottom, miscellaneous. So if I look at miscellaneous, tips for facilitating activities, facilitators if no prop box. So if people don't want to be making up cards, inside of there, you have everything that you're going to need to run those activities. And this one here is particularly of interest at the moment, activities for remote teams. So there we have 13 activities which are suitable for remote teams. And again, lasting about 20 minutes, and they can be facilitated by team members. So that really is level 2. In other words, the diagnostic as often as we like, and then a whole range of activities, because what we suggest is at level 2, you do the diagnostic, the team leader meets with the team, has a review activity, has those one-to-ones. The senior team then meet as well, reviewing the data across the business. I'll go into that in a second. And then the team does an activity once a month, that's all. So this is not heavy in terms of time because we know people are under such strong pressure to deliver. So an activity once a month, facilitated by team member, and then retake the diagnostic after 3 or 4 months. So that is level 1 and level 2. That's looking at it, the experience of an even better place to work from the perspective of the team leader and team members. It's putting them in charge. It's resourcing them so they find solutions. They take ownership. They find ways that they can find greater fulfillment at work, improving the quality of their work lives. I want to look now from the senior team perspective, the corporate perspective. So if we come over here to dashboard, and what we suggest is every time the diagnostic is taken across the business, the senior team meets and reviews the data across the business. It will let them know a lot of the invisible things which are going on in the business. We'll let them know what's going on underneath the dashboard of the car. So let's have a look here at the dashboard. Now at the top here is a drop-down box. So if we open up the drop-down box, you can see all the different teams and divisions in this organization, which means we could click any one of these teams or divisions, and the data I'm going to show you in a few moments would be available for that particular team or division. Now, if you're in at the highest level, the MD or the program owner, you see the average scores for all the teams. You cannot see any personal scores. So let's log in as the whole organization, which is called the New World. And there we have the data right across the whole of the business. So it's an average score, and we're familiar over here with the chart view selector from the last time. So that's useful. And we get a discussion going with the senior team. How do you feel about that, etc., etc. Scroll down, we get completions. So completion rates is 86%, which is not bad. But if I am facilitating that meeting, I would be saying, are you going to base your observations on incomplete information? Do you want to get 100%? Would that be more useful? And if you click on the dial, see what happens. It brings up down the left-hand side here, all the various teams and divisions across the organization and to what extent the needs have been met. And if we take, for example, the sales team, little chevron to the left of the sales, if I click that, so anywhere where you see the chevron, there's more information. That now brings up the team members and who hasn't completed, and you can see immediately, yeah, Tasmin hasn't completed. So this allows the team leader to give Tasmin a ring and say, listen, could you please get that done? We need 100% completions. So we come along now to the average score. So here we have the average score of 4.7, which is really good. Because the program goal we suggest is 100% completion rate and an average score of 5+, because that means people's needs are being met. Again, if you click the dial, up comes another window. And this is really significant now, this heat map. So what does this tell us? This tells us to what extent people's needs are being met in their teams, right across the whole organization. So you can see as I scroll down there, we're getting to the low performing teams. Now these are the teams where needs are not being met, hence this is where you're going to lose your good people. And if they can't find another job, what they'll do is they'll probably stay and moan and blame and criticize because their needs are not being met. So you can actually interpret this heat map in rows or columns. So in rows, it might be, yeah, GB management. They could do with a bit of team building or maybe a bit of coaching or whatever. Or it might be you get the team leader of a high scoring team working with GB management team leader to help that person improve their scores. Or you can read it in terms of columns. So you can see the right-hand column, there's more yellow there than all the other ones. Look at that. And that's conflict. So you might be for these two yellows, you run conflict resolution workshop at lunchtime or something. So again, being very conscious of time, and we're not doing a sheep dip. This is particular to that specific team. So this data here is massively significant for senior people because it lets them know what is going on underneath the bonnet of their organization in terms of needs being met, hence leadership, because that's how we get the best out of our people, by meeting their needs insofar as it's possible. You're also given a bit of an indication of engagement levels and well-being. Because if my needs are being met, guess what? I have a smile on my face. I am feeling good. That feeds into my well-being. Of course it does. So you're getting all that data to look at. Underneath, so I start here a conflict on the far right-hand side. So if you see that little two triangles back to back, that's a sorting icon. And that now tells us, here's the lowest scoring teams for conflict. Again, making it easier for us to sort of, where do we make the interventions? Ownership, difference, motivation, feeling valued. So you now have a measure on each one of these. And as we all know, the soft skills are very difficult to measure. But you're getting a measure on how motivated people are, how much they feel valued, ownership, and so on and so forth. So there's lots of stuff to be talking about here. Average scores, completion rates, answer distribution we look at in a second, and the rank ordering right across the business, and over here the program goal. So if we look and rank that column, so you can see we have 3 stars with a green circle. What's that about? Well, if you hover over it, 3 stars represent outstanding leadership with a completion rate of 100% and average score of 5+. What is a 2-star? 2 stars represent excellent leadership with a completion rate of 95% and an average score of 4.8. And 1 star represents great leadership. So the system works out outstanding, excellent, and great leaders. So if you did want to run an internal award scheme, this makes it very, very easy for you. And we also offer an external award. So what the system does, it takes the last 3 takings of the diagnostic, works out an average, and then places them into 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, or no star. So again, it provides some form of recognition. So that's the average scores. If we now go back to the dashboard, over here we have the answer distribution. So this very simply is looking at how people answered the questions, the diagnostic questions, whether they scored never, very infrequently, occasionally, sometimes, usually, most of the time, or always. And there's a gap here between sometimes and usually because we want everybody scoring usually, most of the time, and always. If they're scoring over here, sometimes, occasionally, very infrequently, and never, that means the needs largely are unmet. So over here for motivation, how many people tick never? 1 person. Very infrequently, 1 person. Occasionally, 6 people, which equates to 3%. For sometimes 11 people, which equates to 5%. So very simply, it just works out the distribution. If you click the chevron here to the left of motivation, it brings up the 4 motivation questions. And you can do the same for feeling valued and feedback. If you scroll down, you'll see a table, needs unmet. And over here on the left-hand side, you have the pie chart. So if we click always, see what happens to the pie chart. Most of the time, usually, sometimes, occasionally, very frequently, and never. If we click needs unmet, 11%, see what happens to the polar chart. So those 4 areas jump out, which equates to 11%. Now we suggest teams get this down to 10% and less, because that usually means the needs will be largely met. If the needs are not being met, and we will sometimes get a score here of 50% of unmet needs. So obviously, there's a lot of work to be done by such a team. So if we close that down and go back to our dashboard, over here, historical data, completions. So here we have this particular organization has completed the diagnostic 4 times, and you have the rates there. And in the 3rd position at 85, that was the very, very first time that the organization took the diagnostic. So in that 3rd place with the darker, richer blue, that's always the first time, because we can forget how much progress we have made. And we have some organizations been using this program for 13 years. So if you can imagine, in that 3rd place was the very, very first time they've taken the diagnostic. Scroll down and we have average scores. Again, something similar. And again, in that 3rd place, that richer blue, which was the first time they actually scored it. Team analysis, highest scoring teams. And again, a great discussion can grow here with the senior team. How do you want to reward them? Do we want to reward them? What does reward look like? How do we maintain the behaviors? Because the behaviors from highest scoring teams are likely to be most beneficial to the business. So again, really interesting conversations. We'll start with the senior team. Low scoring teams, again, what do you want to do with these? Do they need specific help? Can we get the team leaders of the high scoring teams working with the team leaders of the low scoring teams? And on will go the conversation. Next is the satisfaction of goal achieved, which is 100% completion and 5+. Again, recognizing these people in some way. Most improved teams, if you're going to do an internal award scheme, this can be part of it. Most improved teams, least improved teams, again, do they need particular support? Teams with no average scores, less than 3 completions. So the system will not show an average score for the team until at least 3 people in the team have completed the diagnostic. We do that for security, for confidentiality reasons. Also, it might reflect a disengaged team. And that's an interesting conversation now with the senior team. Are you prepared to tolerate leaders who are not particularly interested in the needs of their people? Do we accept that the secret of good leadership, leading people, getting the best out of people, is about connecting with their needs? And if we do, then are you prepared to tolerate people who are not interested in their colleagues' needs? Again, some very interesting conversations will take place and very relevant to the senior team. Question analysis, high scoring questions, low scoring questions. And this is what happens with most organizations. They take their lowest scoring questions and pass that back to the management team for them to find the solution, which of course is impossible or extremely difficult. How can you, from that corporate perspective, find solutions that's going to work in teams? Really, really difficult. Down at the bottom, progress charts, a nice simple chart which just compares the progress between the different retakings of the diagnostic. So in red is the current, the previous diagnostic is in blue, green the previous one, so click green, and another blue. And if you want to click the minimum box, and all the minimum scores come up. So again, useful, nice to have. Now, these particular buttons at the bottom of the dashboard, we access by clicking on the dashboard, scrolling all the way down, progress summary. If I was the MD of an organization, this is the one report which would have most meaning. Why? Because this lets me know the difference between how the diagnostic was completed this time to last time, and whether the scores get better or worse. If it gets worse, it goes red. If it gets better, it goes green. So you can see immediately with this heat map, lots of reds and a little bit of green. So what the reds tells us is that is smoke. There could be a fire there. We don't know, but somebody needs to have a conversation. And if you have the senior team at this meeting, right, whose department, whose directorate is that particular individual or team suffering, so that a conversation starts. What's going on? How can we help? Etc., etc. So we don't get a crisis, we don't get a fire. So this flags up the issues early so they don't develop into a crisis. Over here to the left of the new world, you see the chevron, click that, and it brings up the differences between the two scores, the current diagnostic and the previous one. So if we go back to our dashboard, scroll all the way down to the end, comparison charts. So if we click the chevron here, this opens up the organizational structure. So if I click at Great Britain, America, and France, show charts. Now notice how quickly those charts were created. Masses of information or data being processed here. So have a look here, and this will show us if there are patterns. In real life, most organizations will show a pattern around feedback. In other words, it's a dip. It's scoring lower. So this allows you to do this. And if you scroll down here, you could take Great Britain and open that up into all the different teams, the sub-teams, if you like, within a Great Britain, and show those. And again, you're going to get patterns and useful information. The last report I want to show you is on the 7 steps for needs-driven leadership. If you click the BP2W logo, it always brings you back to the welcome back page. Now, when you first log in, you get a welcome page. Thereafter, you get a welcome back page. And here, this tells us what are the actions for this particular team. So within here is this team world leaders, who is an activity scheduled for the 19th of the 3rd, facilitated by Pete. And also here, you've got the 7 steps for needs-driven leadership for this particular team leader. So what are these 7 steps? Number 1, and by the way, this is systemized leadership. What we really are saying is do these 7 things, you are likely to be an outstanding leader. And all of these things are doable. Number 1, diagnostic completions. Assure everybody in your team completes the diagnostic. Yeah, we can do that. Facilitate the personal / team satisfaction and work review activity. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, we can do that. Set or record any goals that have been set at those meetings. Yeah. Have a one-to-one with each of your team members about their chart. Yeah, we can do that one. Get team members to run an activity once a month and ensure the facilitator writes a little review comment. And then meet with your line manager. So those are the 7 steps, which if followed, is likely to result in outstanding leadership. Also, by achieving that, you are entitled to an ILM certificate, leading and managing employee engagement and staff well-being. If I now go back to the dashboard, scroll down to the very end and click that last button, you now have those 7 steps for needs-driven leadership for every single team and division and director across the whole of the organization. So that's it. That's the demonstration. It really is about changing the culture, having a needs-focused culture supported by needs-driven leadership. It's about improving the quality of work life for people, ensuring that they find fulfillment in work, improving the quality of their work experience, and never forgetting that the business need has priority over any individual's needs. So the mantra is meet the business needs without neglecting the needs of people. And if you neglect the needs of people, now you disengage your staff. Now you create your people problems. Good luck in your journeys and feel free to come back and ask any questions. We will be delighted to answer them.